There's a war being fought right now that you can't see or hear. It's completely invisible, totally silent, and it's all happening at a speed that is just, well, it's way beyond human comprehension. And no, this isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. This is the new reality of cyber conflict.
This quote right here, it absolutely nails it. The old image we all have of a hacker hunched over a keyboard in a dark room, that's officially a thing of the past. Today, the main players on this new battlefield are AI systems, locked in this constant, real-time, autonomous arms race.
And really, that's the big question we're going to dig into. What does happen when the entire timeline of a conflict, from seeing a threat to launching a counterattack, shrinks to just a few milliseconds? It changes everything. I mean everything. Strategy, defense, and our whole sense of being in control.
So let's talk about this algorithmic battlefield. Here, AI is the ultimate double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a revolutionary weapon, right? It can build and launch attacks with terrifying speed and precision. But it's also our most important shield. In fact, it's pretty much our only hope for defending against those very same attacks. This whole back and forth has squeezed the offense-defense cycle from something that took years down to literally seconds.
Okay, so this is a really important point to get our heads around. We're not just talking about automation, a simple script that just follows a list of pre-programmed instructions. No, we're talking about true autonomy. These AI agents can learn on the fly, they can adapt to new situations, and they can make their own decisions to get a job done. And that, my friends, is a total game changer.
So let's look at the dark side first. How exactly is AI being used as a weapon? Well, it's basically supercharging every single step of a cyber attack, a process that the pros call the cyber kill chain. It's making these attacks faster, way smarter, and more scalable than anything we have ever seen before.
Let's just break that down a bit. First up, you have reconnaissance. The AI agents are just churning through mountains of public data, social media, websites, you name it, to find the perfect target. Then comes weaponization. This is where generative AI steps in to build the attack. And we're not talking about some generic phishing email. This is a hyper-personalized message that's almost impossible to tell is fake. Or it could be malware that literally rewrites its own code to avoid being caught. And finally, exploitation. Once it's in, the AI just moves through the network on its own, finds exactly what it's looking for, and then completely erases its own footprint.
And this is where it gets really interesting and kind of scary. The biggest threat here isn't just an AI finding a bug in some software. It's about exploiting the bugs in us, in our own human psychology. Generative AI can mimic language, tone, even the sound of a specific person's voice so perfectly that the new battlefield is really our own sense of trust. And as you can see, this isn't theoretical. State actors are already using these tools out in the wild. And if you're not convinced, just look at this number, 54%. That's from a study where an AI ran a phishing campaign. It tricked over half of its targets. That's the same success rate as a human expert, but it did it for a tiny fraction of the cost and at a scale that's just mind-boggling. This is what it looks like when advanced cyber attacks become cheap and easy for anyone to use.
So, the million-dollar question is, how in the world do you defend against that? Well, the only real answer is to fight fire with fire. You fight AI with AI. You just can't have a human-speed defense trying to stop a machine-speed attack. It's impossible. And that reality has kicked off a massive revolution in cybersecurity, leading to what we're calling the autonomous shield.
I love this metaphor because it perfectly captures the huge shift in thinking here. For decades, cyber defense was all about building a fortress, a strong perimeter, a big firewall. But that model is broken. It just doesn't work anymore. The new way of thinking is to treat a network like a biological immune system. It's decentralized, it's constantly adapting, and it can find and neutralize threats that are already inside.
So what can this immune system actually do? Well, for starters, it can use predictive intelligence to guess where the next attack might come from before it even happens. It learns the normal rhythm of a network, so it can spot anything that seems out of place, which is absolutely crucial for catching brand new attacks. It can even set up smart traps or decoys to lure in attackers and study how they work. But the most important part, it can respond all on its own, isolating a threat in the blink of an eye.
Now, this all sounds fantastic, right? But it leads us to a really deep and, frankly, unsettling problem. How do we, as humans, actually stay in control of a conflict that's happening at speeds we can't even perceive? This, right here, is the crisis of command in the age of AI.
Okay, to really get this, you have to realize that autonomy isn't just an on or off switch. It's more like a sliding scale. On one end, you've got human in the loop,
where a person has to sign off on every single thing the AI does. In the middle, there's human on the loop, where the AI acts on its own, but a human is watching over its shoulder and can step in. And then, way over on the other end, you have fully autonomous systems that are just on their own.
And that is the core of the crisis. In that human-on-the-loop model, the window of opportunity for a person to step in and say, "No, stop," can shrink to a millisecond, a fraction of a second. I mean, nobody can meaningfully look at the data and make a good call that fast. So you're stuck with this impossible choice. Do you just blindly trust the AI, this black box? Or do you pause and risk a total disaster?
So, as you can see, both sides of this AI arms race are facing huge challenges. For the attackers, on the left, it's a constant race to evolve and avoid being detected. But you could argue that the defenders, on the right, have it even tougher. They have to worry about false alarms, they have to solve that black box problem of figuring out why an AI did what it did, and they even have to defend against attacks that try to trick their own defensive AI.
So this isn't just about tech, not by a long shot. This is fundamentally changing geopolitics, global stability, and the very idea of what power even is. We are walking into an era with completely new rules of war.
And at the end of the day, this technology makes our world a much more fragile place. You could have two opposing AIs interact in a weird way and accidentally trigger a flash conflict before any human even knows what's happening. It also makes it incredibly hard to prove who attacked you, which makes it harder to stop them from doing it again. And, maybe most terrifying of all, the pure speed of an autonomous first strike could completely unravel the idea of mutually assured destruction that has, for better or worse, kept the peace for decades.
And all of this leads to a massive, fundamental shift in who holds the power in the world. For centuries, power was about land, about territory controlled by governments. But the key resources in this new arms race, the data, the algorithms, the raw computing power, they aren't controlled by governments. They're controlled by a handful of giant tech companies. This creates a whole new world of algorithmic politics, where a country's security depends on its relationship with these incredibly powerful private companies.
Which leaves us with this final and I think crucial question. In a war where the soldiers are algorithms and the battlefield is the entire digital world, who gets to write the rules of engagement? Figuring out what's allowed and what's not isn't just a technical problem anymore. It's one of the most urgent ethical and political challenges of our time.